President, I rise to speak briefly on behalf of the Greens today in support of this motion. I thank the Honourable Irene Nevmatikos for bringing this important issue to our attention. The popular perception of digitised irregular work, or gigs, applies to many different potential work across a range of industries and involves many types of business. Put simply, it is an imprecise concept. Despite the wide variety of situations and terminology, several key features typify most forms of gig work. Gig workers typically face irregular work schedules, driven by fluctuations of demand for their services. In most positions, the worker provides almost all of the equipment used directly for their role, from a bicycle or a car for food delivery to more complex and expensive transportation or computing equipment in other jobs. Many gig workers also provide their own place of work at home or elsewhere. Most gig jobs are compensated on a piecework basis, with payment defined according to specific tasks rather than unit of time worked. Additionally, gig jobs are usually understood to be organised around some form of digital mediation, including web-based platforms. We continue to hear more stories about the impacts of the gig economy as it proliferates across the country and across the world. Dr Caleb Good, Senior Lecturer in Management and Organisation at the University of Western Australia's Business School, said, quote, "People are attracted to gig work because of its positive attributes, such as low barriers to entry and flexible time commitments," end quote. However, the pandemic shed light on the precarious conditions of gig economy workers. With cost of living pressures, including rising rents and mortgage payments, food and medical appointments, these additional sources of income are crucial to the well-being of so many South Australians. Nevertheless, the growth of gig work also represents a new frontier in industrial relations disputes. Recent decisions in the courts around the world have shown the divergence of opinion relating to the classification of gig workers. Australia's Fair Work Commission concluded that they are not employees and that they fall under the independent contractor model. In 2021, the UK Supreme Court declared them employees, and a Dutch judge ruled that Uber drivers should be classified as employees and entitled to the benefits of that status. Across the other side of the globe, in Florida, legislation confirmed that Uber drivers are independent contractors. This is clearly a complex issue that does need further review. This classification by the Fair Work Commission defining gig workers as contractors means, because they are not employed on a formal basis, these workers are excluded from Australia's national employment system, and as such they do not receive superannuation, comprehensive occupational health and safety coverage or minimum pay. In a case settled out of court involving Adelaide Uber Eats food delivery driver, in a case settled out of court involving an Adelaide Uber Eats food delivery driver, we see the need to provide basic employment rights to gig workers. Miss Anita Gupta and her partner made 2,200 deliveries for Uber Eats over 18 months. In 1 week, the couple worked for 96 hours and earned just $300. When she was then 10 minutes late in delivering an order when Uber Eats cut off her access to its delivery app, Uber decided to pay Ms Gupta $400,000 rather than risk having its legion of low-paid workers being classed as employees by a court. Gig workers highlight underlying problems concerning how our nation regulates work, and it ascribes economic security to standard forms of work that are clearly not standard. Associate Professor Marinella Marmo from Flinders University's College of Business says, quote, "Out-of-court settlement hinged on two key mechanisms of algorithm control, taking responsibility from the company and a popular narrative of worker autonomy and choice," end quote. Inadequate legal reforms, limited power of unions and absence of other safeguard covering this new economy industry continues to disadvantage gig workers and reinforce the power of companies operating such precarious, casual labour markets. As we come out of this global pandemic, we need to address these issues urgently. We have a duty to South Australians to ensure their well-being, as well as their working rights and interests, are protected with the establishment of this select committee. We can effectively address these issues without adjusting and strengthening labour regulations and safety nets to reflect the new practices of the gig economy. we will set back the prospect of an all-inclusive and fair labour market. The Greens look forward to supporting this inquiry, and with that I commend the mover for bringing this issue to the Parliament, and I commend the motion.